Oh yes, we have ignition. Hello and welcome to the Vintage Motorist. Today we're going to be having a look at an early form of vehicle lighting, and it is this, the acetylene lamp. And in this video I'm going to show you a few details of this lamp, and then we're going to light it up and I'll show you how it works. It's easy to take for granted today just how easy it is to turn lights on a car. You just flip the switch and they light up. But back in the early days of motoring, it was slightly more complicated than that. We needed a way to light the way as we went along the tracks. Now, candles and oil lamps are quite effective. They mark where you are. If someone's coming towards you, they can hopefully see that you're there. But if you want to light the road ahead of you, they don't do a very good job. Plus the wind affects them, that it can blow the candles out. So we needed something that was a little bit more reliable. So what is calcium carbide? Well, it looks like a little bit of stone that you might pick up off the ground. But this isn't a naturally formed substance, so if you're out in your garden, you're very unlikely to dig any of this up. So I don't know all the chemical composition of calcium carbide, but basically you take coke, which is a form of burnt coal, and limestone, and you heat it up at a very high temperature. And then that gives you calcium carbide. So this is an early tin here of carbide of calcium, standard quality and free from dust. And then at the bottom here we've got the County Chemical Co Limited Chemico Works, I think that says, of Birmingham. And we've got lots of warnings. Dangerous if not kept dry. Caution, the contents of this package are liable to give off a highly flammable gas if brought into contact with moisture. So it's quite interesting. At the bottom here we have this label: warning, it is illegal to refill this tin and legal proceedings will be taken against offenders. Well, as I have put some newer calcium carbide in here, I'll be expecting a letter through the post anytime soon. So calcium carbide on its own is fairly harmless. If you would try to ignite it with a match, nothing would happen. However, with another ingredient, it can prove highly flammable. I'm going to do a little experiment just to see how flammable calcium carbide really is. So we've got our calcium carbide in our tin. So we have our mug. We'll pop a few bits of calcium carbide in there. Right, we'll put that down there. Now, let's get the safety gear on. Right. There. Oh, I should put that on before the cap. Right, here we go. There, right. Safety protective gear on. Now, I have my box of matches at hand. And what we're going to do is we're going to tip some of this magic potion, which some of this water, yep, definitely water. So we're going to tip the water into the calcium carbide, and then, oh yes, we have ignition. And as you can see, calcium carbide is rather flammable. This book is questions and answers relating to automobile design, construction, driving and repair, and dates back to 1919. Now, when you look under the section on motor car equipment and accessories, it talks here about lighting. So at that time in 1919, it says here, the conventional method of lighting automobiles is by gas and kerosene lamps, as outlined in figure 312. With a system of this kind, which is furnished on most low and moderate price cars, the powerful searchlights are designed to burn gas, while the side and tail lamps burn oil. This is our lamp. I believe it dates from the 1920s and is a French lamp. If anybody knows anything more about this, I have tried to do a little bit of research, but haven't had much luck so far. I picked this particular one up in an antique shop. It was in quite good condition, but it obviously hadn't worked for a little while, but I was determined to make it work again. So I'll show you some of the parts of this lamp. So you've got the main lens on the front here, which opens up so you can light the lamp. Now this lens, this whole assembly at the front here, actually slides off, so you do have to be a little bit careful with that when you're handling this lamp, that you don't drop it onto the ground and crack the glass. The containers here are basically in two halves. The top half, this tank, you fill with water. The bottom half, in this tank, you fill with the calcium carbide. So you fill the water up through the top here, which I shall show you. The water will then drip into the bottom, into where the calcium carbide is. It will then make the reaction to turn it into acetylene gas. The acetylene gas will then come through this pipe, come out of this tiny little hole here where you'll ignite it, and it will light your lamp up. So if we take it apart, if you unscrew the bottom section like so, then the bottom part will come off like this. So we'll look at the top section first. So if we start by filling this tank up with water without hopefully spilling it everywhere. So we'll get our water, and we just want to carefully, or actually, so before we fill this up with water, we just want to turn this on the top so that it's shut, and then we'll get our water. There we go. So we put a little bit of water in the tank here, and we'll just screw the cap back on. So with the water in the tank at the top here, if you unscrew this, what you'll find is that drips of water will start coming out of here, and this will go into where the calcium carbide is to make the gas. So if I unscrew that slowly, there we are, it starts to drip out the bottom. So if you want it to drip less, just turn it off with the screw at the top, and that will stop it dripping. Also on the top section of this lamp, you can see where the lamp would attach to the bicycle, and this is a really good design, because if you imagine you're going along on a bicycle on a really rough old track, and the shock of the bouncing up and down on the bike could actually damage the lamp, but this bracket on here is actually sprung, so it takes a lot of the shock when you're going along bumpy roads. So this is the bottom section of our lamp, and this is where the calcium carbide goes in. This goes on top, and with the pressure of this spring, it pushes the carbide down so it doesn't all jump about all over the place when you're going down a bumpy road. I actually had to bend this bit of wire to shape to make a new spring. The old one that was in here was rusted to bits and wasn't any good, but this seems to do the trick. Right, so what we need to do then is get some calcium carbide from our tin here, and if we just tip a little bit in there like so. So if you look in there, you can see our calcium carbide. Then we'll pop that over the top. Then we want to screw the bottom onto the top. So we line that up like so, and screw that in, and make sure that's tight. So that's all good. So we now have water in the top, and we have the calcium carbide in the bottom. Then what we'll do is we'll put our lens onto the front of here, and just open that up like so, so that we can hopefully light it. To light the lamp up, we first need to turn this screw round a touch. So what will be happening now is the water will be dripping down inside, In fact, I can already hear it dripping down, and the reaction's taking place. It's slightly warmer around the bottom here, so we should have gas being produced, so hopefully we'll be able to light it. So we just get my lighter here, and we have ignition. We've got the flame going, and if I turn the water on a bit more, there we go, we have a much brighter flame. Now of course it is daylight out here, so it won't be as bright as it would be in the dark, but if we close that like so, and you'll find that the flame of this is a much brighter flame than what it would be on an oil lamp. So I thought I'd just show you here a comparison of two lamps. The lamp on the right hand side is an early railway lamp which uses oil as its fuel, and then we have our acetylene lamp on the left, and even in the daylight you can quite clearly see which is the brighter of the two. The oil burning flame is much yellower than what the acetylene flame is, which is practically like a bright white light, so it's much better at night time for seeing in the dark. So if you've got these acetylene lamps on the front of your vehicle, you are going to see a lot more than you would with the oil lamp. By the time Primrose was built in 1929, all her lights are electric, so you can sit in the car in the dry, flick the switch and the lights come on. So electric lighting systems are now furnished on practically all high-grade cars because they possess important advantages of cleanliness and reliability not present in gas or oil lamps. Electric searchlights are very powerful and use but little electric current on account of efficient tungsten filament lamps used. The lamps are easily lighted from the seat by pushing a switch, whereas the oil and gas lamps must be lighted with matches, often a difficult proposition on a windy day, and always a disagreeable task because it is necessary to step in the road and walk around the car to light each lamp in turn. Some users of stored gas have electric gas lighters installed, but as this involves the use of pressure regulator at the gas tank and the complete ignition system composed of an induction coil, battery, push button and wiring besides the special ignition members attached to the lamp burners, it is doubtful advantage over the electric lighting method. So I hope you've enjoyed watching today's video. If you have, please do click like and subscribe, click the bell for notifications, and from Primrose and myself, we'd like to thank you for watching and hope that you'll join us next time. Cheers!